Good morning, everyone. We are here to have acupuncture board meeting. Today is November 6th, 2025. The time is 9:33, and we are here. The physical address is at Dongguo University. So thanks for Dongguo University provide the meeting room for acupuncture board meeting. So to everybody here in the audience and people online, thank you very much for coming to the board meeting. And I also want to especially thanks for all the staff, acupuncture board staff. They actually flew from Sacramento, from Northern California, different places, come to Los Angeles. The purpose come to Los Angeles to have this meeting is for more people in the South California convenient to come to the meeting. So their effort is very much appreciated. And thanks for all the board members, also from different area, the whole different area of California. So welcome everybody. And the meeting starting now. Let's make a roll call. Christina, please.
President Dr. Yang Ping Chen.
Yes.
Vice President Francisco Kim.
Yes.
Gregory Liang.
Yeah.
Shudong Li.
Yes.
Ruben Osorio.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
So the meeting actually is 2 days. Today is a full board meeting. Yesterday, we have 2 committee meetings. The morning is enforcement committee meeting. Afternoon is licensing committee meeting. Thanks to the chair, Mr. Osorio. Thank you for a very good job. Yesterday finished the enforcement committee meeting. And thanks for Mr. Francisco Kim, Chair Kim of Licensing Committee. Fabulous job. Conduct the business of the Licensing Committee. Thank you. Okay, so today we start the first item 3. Review and possible approval of board meeting minutes for June 13, 2025.
Thank you, President Chen. Board members, you have the meeting minutes in the materials before you. Were there any questions or comments, any requests for change, or do I hear a motion on the table to approve the minutes or provide some amendments?
Yeah, I approve. I proposed a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. Vice President Kim motioned, Member Osorio seconded to approve the minutes for June's meeting. Let's go ahead and open it up to public comment in the audience here. Seeing none in the audience here, let's turn to our WebEx audience.
All right, WebEx is taking public comment on the motion. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. People will be given 3 minutes to speak, and I'll give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. Let's go ahead and take roll call vote.
Dr. Yangping Chen,
Yes.
Francisco Kim,
Yes.
Shudong Li,
Yes.
Ruben Osorio,
Yes.
Gregory Lung.
Yes.
The motion passes to approve the June 2025 meeting minutes.
So I just want to add on this meeting minutes, very well written, very detailed, because in last meeting, especially the licensing committee discussed a very long time until the last minute, 5 o'clock, and a lot of input from the stakeholders. So it's reflected in the meeting minutes. Thank you for staff, your hard work to get everything ready here for our approval today. Of course, thank you for your leadership, our EO, Mr. Ben Padilla. So next is discussion and the possible adoption of standards of practice for telehealth services rulemaking, 6 CCR section 1399.452.1, including consideration of comments received and modified texts. Mr. Brother.
Great, thank you. So this is a rulemaking package that is actually in an initial filing phase. So it's been filed or noticed with Office of Administrative Law, and this has to do with standards of practice for telehealth services. And just to point out, after the memo, you will see some public comments via email that we received during the 45-day public comment period. And then after that, you'll see some modified text that we're bringing to you for review. And then you can also see what the proposed text looked like when we put it out for notice. So just a bit of background. At our October 26, 2023 meeting, the board approved the regulatory language to establish standards for licensees to follow when acupuncture services are provided via telehealth. The proposal explains which acupuncture services can be provided through telehealth and sets the proper standards that licensed acupuncturists must follow based on the scope of practice permitted in Business and Professions Code Section 4937. In addition, the proposal outlines how to decide which acupuncture treatments are suitable for telehealth, what information must be shared with patients for consent, and the proper steps to get that consent. It also states that not following these rules is considered unprofessional conduct under the law. So after we received approval from the director and from agency, as I said, the proposed regulations were noticed. That was done on July 4th. And then it was open for public comment for 45 days. And the comment period ended August 18th. We received a total of 14 comments during the comment period. And so we'll be going over those today. And we also received 5 requests for hearing, but those were not received by the deadline of August 3rd. And so we're asking the board to review the public comments and determine how you would like to respond to each comment. And once the responses to the comments are determined, staff requests the board consider further modifications to the text in response to one comment. Going to the back of the memo, there are 2 options that you'll have. One would be if you agree with the proposed responses and if you want to proceed with the suggested modified text, which is what we're recommending, then you would go with option 1 and read that language. And when we refer to the modified text, again, that's behind all of the comments, so you can see that there. So going to the first set of comments that we received, these are the requests that we received for hearing. And so they were requesting a public hearing. However, we did not receive them in time. The comment period ended August 18th, and we state in the notice that requests for public hearing must be received no later than 15 days prior to the close of the written comment period, and that would have been August 3rd, and all of our requests were received after August 3rd. So we did not hold a hearing and because they were not received timely. And then going on to the next set of comments, these are requests for more detailed scope of practice. That was kind of the main theme of all of these comments. The comments broadly support the use of telehealth within the acupuncture profession, but urge the board to ensure that the regulations are clear, realistic, and aligned with actual clinical practice. They emphasize that telehealth should focus on non-physical services such as consultations, interpreting laboratory testing, herbal medicine, lifestyle and nutrition counseling, and guided self-care techniques like acupressure. There is a consensus that physical treatments, for example, needling, pulse diagnosis, must be explicitly excluded from telehealth. And the comments advocate for expanding the recognized scope of telehealth to include safe, teachable modalities like suction, cupping as opposed to fire cupping, gua sha, and tui na, provided that proper instruction is given. So I'm not going to go over in detail what our proposed response is, but you can refer to that in the board packet. But essentially for these comments, when we were coming up with the language, it was intentional to not be prescriptive in delineating what acupuncture services are allowed. And instead, we provide, the language provides factors for a licensee to consider in determining what acupuncture services are appropriate and safe for telehealth delivery. So we wanted to provide that flexibility for acupuncturists and not be very explicit in itemizing, you know, this is allowed, but this isn't allowed, and having a framework like that for the proposed regulation. So we recommend to decline any amendments based on these comments. The next set of comments, well, actually, it's just one. They recommended an alternative term, and they also pointed out that there was possibly a lack of clarity. So comment number 4 recommends updating the regulatory language to reflect the full legal scope of practice and to avoid confusion by using the term healthcare services instead of acupuncture services. So we actually did make some changes, some amendments based on this comment. And I'll just go over that in detail. In consideration of the definition of acupuncture set forth in BPC section 4927D, the board agrees that acupuncture services, as used in the first line, lacks some clarity. It is the intent of the proposed language to permit an acupuncturist to provide all services authorized by an acupuncturist scope of practice, which are all of the modalities within 4937. Therefore, the board amends the proposed language to read as a licensee is permitted to provide all services authorized by section 4937 of the BMP code, and then in parentheses referred to as acupuncture services. Retaining the reference of acupuncture services is consistent with how the profession is referred to throughout the Acupuncture Licensure Act. In addition, acupuncture is traditionally used to refer to all the services that are authorized to perform or prescribed by a licensed acupuncturist. And then the next comment is some opposition to the proposed regulation requiring that a licensee disclose their name and their license number in the proposed language. We recommend not making any amendments based on that comment. You know, public protection is most important. And so it also acts kind of like our BPC section 4961, and that each licensee is supposed to display their license and that information to a consumer when they come into a practice. So even in a virtual setting, by a licensee disclosing their name and license number, It's mimicking the license display requirements. And so to the next set of comments, these were concerns for the penalty on unlicensed telehealth and the cost complaints estimate. So comment number 2 opposes the proposed telehealth regulation, citing it as another burdensome requirement that adds cost and complexity without improving the profession. She criticizes the board for not supporting acupuncturists and instead imposing more hoops to jump through. She contrasts the high standards expected of acupuncturists with the lack of enforcement against unlicensed holistic practitioners. She calls for the board to focus on protecting the profession, for example, by targeting illegal dry needling rather than adding more regulations. Comments number 2 and number 11 also raise a concern about the estimated range of compliance costs included in the notice, suggesting that the actual costs could be even higher. And additionally, comment number 11 clarifies that only licensed acupuncturists can provide telehealth services and requests the board impose penalties for unlicensed individuals offering such services. Based on these comments, we are also declining to make any amendments to the proposed text. The concern about the costs, telehealth is optional, so there are no mandated compliance costs. However, the notice did go into detail in the range of costs that somebody might encounter if they wanted to do telehealth, and it could range from simply no cost to using your telephone or email text services to possibly upwards of between $300 per month or $3,600 per year, and that's if you had some sort of software that did scheduling, video, records, all of that. So the options are open. So nothing is mandated or obligated by this proposed language. And then with regards to a clear fine or penalty for unlicensed telehealth, that is covered in our unlicensed practice section, BPC section 4935. So there isn't anything that we need to do there to address that. And so if in greater detail, you can refer to the memo. And then the next set of comments is just support for the proposed telehealth regulation. And we just are appreciating the support of these comments, and because they don't suggest any changes, no revisions are being made. And basically what you're seeing here in the memo today, if you do decide to go with these proposed responses, this is almost like a copy and paste into our final statement of reasons, which is part of the rulemaking record. And again, you can look at the actual comments that are here, and the proposed modified text is what you'll also be considering and voting on today. It was small, slight changes. If you do adopt the modified text, we do have to go out for an additional 15-day comment period to hear from the public again. So it is possible that this could come back to the board. But we feel that it provides some clarity and addresses their issues. So are there any questions?
Just a point of clarification for everyone regarding the materials in the memo. We happen to have 2 subsection Bs. The second subsection B is the item that is drawing the change in is modifying the language, just for the audience and for the board members.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question on the, it says a full scope of practice, even on the,
Oh, yeah.
oh, thank you. It says full scope of practice, even on the medicine activity. So as a practitioner, it comes to my mind, some of the insurance, they don't pay the consultation.
Mm.
Then there will be, maybe the cost will be hand down to this public. But if this is the full scope of practice, let's say I have some pain over there, then you can guide the patient to certain area to massage or acupressure. Then the actual acupuncture or acupressure practice has been performed, then maybe there'll be a legal ground for the practitioner to bill for the service, not instead of just consulting. It makes sense.
Right. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. Based on the proposed language, it could allow for that, given the factors to consider if that's appropriate for the patient based on their medical history, all of that that they're presenting. If it's a virtual treatment, it is a treatment. So I can't speak to like insurance coverage and all of that, but yeah, it would be.
Because let's say when this time of the day, actually one of my patients, I get a call, like they catch a cold and they have to postpone until they feel better.
Right.
Then when I'm telling them that do this and that, and then press certain points when you have a pain in your area, where you have the pain, and they follow, then it could constitute the actual session.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That'll be a big help. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does the insurance pay for it?
That's the ground. It's between the physician and the insurance, I think. Yeah.
The insurance probably just pay consultation if not use acupuncture,
Needles.
puncture. If pay acupuncture item that cold have to pierce the skin.
Oh, I see.
But it's a
So far.
full scope of practice. Scope of practice. So let's say someone has a needle phobia, then we only can do acupressure on the acupuncture points. Then, by the definition of acupuncture, the insurance can deny the service, but if as long as we have the saying full scope of practice, there's a legal ground that we can request for review. I think that's what I mean. But I think it'll be like outside of a board thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So my my knowledge, if acupuncture is puncture, you have to go through the skin. If not go through skin, it's acupressure. So I saw some other profession, they list their scope of practice. Acupressure is non-acupuncture profession. Other profession list that acupressure. So acupressure is acupuncture definitions have to puncture the skin. I think insurance, you can do acupuncture and acupressure. They pay, but the part that they pay is acupuncture. I think 97810, that code, you have to pierce the skin. So cannot do tele. Tele can understand as your self-care, acupressure, we can teach them, but that's the insurance issue, not
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and there are multiple billing codes for consultations, and so that's just the whole thing of company about being recognized, and the fact that there is a telehealth ability, maybe that'll work with the insurance companies. But that's sort of outside the scope of what this is trying to provide. Really, it's really just providing access, right?
Yeah, just see our telehealth that regulation does not legalize the acupressure as acupuncture, right?
Does not substitute it.
Yes, legitimate.
Yeah, the way your billing codes you were describing, it is provided, right? You're providing the acupuncture. So if you're talking to a patient and say, do this point, they're providing the acupuncture. So it's still in a consultative moment, right? And those regular visits have a short period of an interview, consultation plus acupuncture. This would just be consultation. I mean, and that gets down to the details of how everybody runs their business. And I've seen many records, and it's not completely consistent about how everybody bills out their care. So hopefully the profession can get together and work out how to address this, in a way that can include reimbursement. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good point, but from my I think as long as you deliver to resolve the method, to resolve the patient's complaint, the service was performed with or without needle. So if anyone doesn't recognize the value of the service without the needle, I think that's very controversial. So by saying that you have to puncture the skin with a needle is the only acupuncture, I think it's very, very, very narrow interpretation of acupuncture.
We don't have you can, I think most acupuncture practices have a lot of it's kind of big. How you actually get reimbursed for insurance, and you have wanting that, so it does create separate issue from what we're talking about.
Yeah, I want to reinforce that we're starting to move beyond the scope of the board. I leave this to the profession and the professional associations to sort this out with the insurance. We are not substituting acupressure for acupuncture. There's different codes for different things. We're staying out of that. We're just saying this is acupuncture. What you as an acupuncturist can do through telehealth is now being codified in our regulations. It's already codified in the general business and professions place. You can do this, right? This is what the pandemic brought up, that people wanted to see and be assured that they can offer acupuncture telehealth services. We're not talking about redefining anything.
Thank you.
It's good for the
This is Gregory Leong, a generalist. I'm wondering, will there be possible for abuse of this telehealth programs? Like, for example, somebody called 10 times a week. Is there any provisions on the limits of calls that they can make?
I would imagine it'd be the acupuncturist availability. That would be the limit to that. It is an appointment, just like if you go into the clinic. So the acupuncturist has to agree to it unless they're taking emergency calls.
Okay, for regular doctors, if you make a call, there's always a recording that tells you if it's this emergency, call 911. Okay. And for the call, is there a business hours for you to call, or can you call any time of the day, even in the middle of the night? And if the doctor does not respond to the call, is there any consequences?
That's part of the normal standard of care and how you run your business. So this, I think, is a little separate from, like, to have telehealth, you have scheduled an appointment with the acupuncturist. You're not just calling to say how you're doing or, hey, I've got this issue, unless the doctor or the acupuncturist is engaging in that appointment right then and there. But as far as I know, like, you have to schedule that with your acupuncturist. You see when they're available because they're seeing patients right then and there. It's likely they're not answering the phone, right? There's their office staff that's answering the phone, and they're securing the time of the acupuncturist. Any acupuncturist I've called, I get that 911 message as well. Like, if this is an emergency, call 911. Don't be calling here.
Okay, thank you.
I think important for the professionals to post the business hour. So that's his business hour in the business hour, or they can, if they do telehealth, they can say, okay, this hour for regular physical treatment and this hour available for telehealth. So if people call this time, not not a reply, maybe people complain. If out hour, nobody can 24-hour on call unless in the hospital, the residencies. So nobody can do that. So as long as not in business hour, they have no reason to. So I think a professional should make some frame. What's the availability? Right? But this is new. All the awesome.
Do we address your concern? Yeah. Any other questions or comments from board members on this? Would anyone like to make a motion, or we don't have to open it until there's a motion on the floor?
Okay.
So if you look in the memo, the last page, you have two options. The first option is to agree with the proposed responses we just reviewed, and you can see the details of those items in the memo. And as Ms. Brothers noted, this is what we're going to take and put into our final statement of reasons to address the concerns raised by these comments. If there are items you would like to add to the language that we are proposing to be modified, then you can use option 2 and provide us some additional language. I haven't heard any additional language as of yet, so. And if you would like, you can just say, I would like to motion option number 1, and I can read it for you if you want to read it.
I'd like to make motion number 1, please.
Thank you. We have a motion from Vice President Kim to direct staff to reject the action requested in the comments, except in part amendment suggested by comment number 4, provide the responses to the comments as indicated in the meeting materials, and approve the proposed modified text for a 15-day public comment period, which also directs staff to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking process, authorize the executive officer to make any technical or non-substantive changes to the proposed regulations, and adopt the enclosed modified text either as described in the proposed modified text or with any potential amendments if no relevant adverse comments are received within a modified text comment period. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
We have a second from Member Osorio. Thank you. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment in the audience at the university.
Good morning, Neil Miller from CalAtma. I'd like to thank the staff. I think that you did a great job putting this together. It's very well done, and the responses to the 14 letters were very good, and I think that the 2 proposals were excellent. You know, not everybody's going to be happy, but there's a few things. I just have one of the problems we run into is the definition of acupuncture. We're not changing that here, but that's why everybody says, well, this is acupuncture, and you went, well, this is what we do. And the statute says this is acupuncture. You know, cupping is not acupuncture, gua sha is not, none of that is acupuncture. So asking the board to make a note, because that might be one of those issues that you talk about to the Joint Legislative Review Committee about the language and the problems that we face. And it's not a big fix, but it's something that should be part of the discussion. And the other thing is regarding informed consent. That's probably the biggest change that I anticipate is having an informed consent in the hands of a telehealth patient. You know, you're going to have to email that or have a secure way to get them to that, because you're talking about 10 minutes of reading something. And it's a little bit gray if they're just saying, well, you could have this, you could have this. These are the problems you could have. Like yesterday, somebody talked about where it says bleeding and talked about bruising versus hematoma and all of those other things. So that's one area that's a little gray that's going to have to be ironed out between the profession and what the expectation of the board is. Because that, you know, my informed consent is a page and a half, 2 pages. So you're going to have to see that that's signed and sent back to you, or as it says in the thing, that they've read something that you have, and they give you a verbal, I have read this, and then you note that in the thing. But that's the only problem that I foresee in this is the informed consent and how you're going to communicate that and how to make it a little bit smoother. But I really want to thank the staff. It was a big issue, and I think that you handled each one of the complaints in a really, I could have done it better. Every point that you made. So great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. So more comments from the audio here? If none, we go to online. David, please open online comments. Thank you.
All right, WebEx is taking public comments on the motion for agenda item 4. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have an online request. Seeing no online request, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Okay, so let's vote.
Dr. Yongping Chen,
Yes.
Francisco Kim,
Yes.
Shudong Li,
Yes.
Ruben Osorio,
Yes.
Gregory Lam.
Yes.
The motion passes for option 1, motion language.
Thank you. So next item is discussion and the possible adoption of retired status. Retired status restoration rulemaking 16 CCR section 1399.419.3 and 1399.460, including consideration of comments received. Ms. Brothers.
So we're actually, I think we're going to table this. This was kind of a placeholder. This is a retirement. We didn't actually receive any public comment during the comment period. It was just that our comment period ended so close to the board meeting, ended October 27th. So we wanted to have this on our agenda just in case we did receive some comments to bring to the board to not hold up the rulemaking process. But we did not receive any. So we don't really have anything to discuss under this item.
And then just for the public's knowledge, that's going to be moving to OAL now for their review.
I'll be giving a brief status update on that during the reg report, but yeah, that's going to move into the final filing phase with OAL.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brother. So we can see the staff really working hard, very seriously, working on all the language, all the details. So collect the information from the public. When we still possible receive any comments, then we table off. So thank you for this detailed job. Very good job. So we go to next item, right? Oh, we still open for public comments. Any comments from the audio here? None? Okay, please open online comments.
WebEx is open for public comment on agenda item 5. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand. We will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Okay, so we just table We don't need to vote anything, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Item 6, discussion and the possible action to reconsider previously approved text, authorize initiation of a new rulemaking and to adopt new amendments to the documents incorporated by reference in section 1399.469 in Title 16 of the California Code of Regulations, disciplinary guidelines and the uniform standards relate to substance abusing licensee, revised October 2023, and a quarterly report 10/2023. Ms. Brothers, please.
Thank you. So I think we're familiar with hearing about disciplinary guidelines. We've had that for discussion and review at prior board meetings. And today we just have some small revisions to the proposed text, which you'll find after the memo. And then also just a few areas of the disciplinary guidelines draft document itself. And you can see those in yellow highlight, and I'll go over those now. Just to provide a little bit of background, at the board's October 2023 meeting, the board did approve regulatory language at that time to update the board's disciplinary guidelines. It hasn't been updated since 1996. And then also, we would be implementing 3 different bills, SB 1441, which is the uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees, SB 1448, which is a requirement for probationers to disclose their probation status. And then AB 2138 that actually has been implemented in regulation, but we are putting those as well into our disciplinary guidelines. And those are factors for revocation or suspension, substantial relationship criteria, and all of that. So during the October meeting, the board voted to adopt new text that establishes a presumption that a licensee is a substance abusing licensee if the conduct found to be grounds for discipline involves drugs and/or alcohol. The licensee would then be on notice with the burden of rebutting that presumption. The board also approved the board's quarterly report form by incorporation, and that's a quarterly report form that our enforcement unit uses for licensees on probation. Since then, staff drafted all the rulemaking documents, and we submitted them to Department of Consumer Affairs, the regulation unit, for review, and that was earlier this year at the end of April. After the regulation unit's review, there were several edits recommended to the disciplinary guidelines itself, and as well as some revisions to the proposed language for alignment. First, we'll start with the proposed text, and that's for 1399.469. The new amendments to this section update the disciplinary guidelines and implement the uniform standards, and you'll find the changes in yellow highlight. So the proposed revisions are, we are proposing to delete, in quotes, and uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees from the title of 1399.469, and we'll just restore it back to the existing title of disciplinary guidelines. Also deleting the and uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees from the title of the guidelines document itself, and restore it to its existing title, which is just simply disciplinary guidelines. Although it was once a recommendation of prior legal counsel to include reference to the uniform standards as part of the title to be more comprehensive, it is no longer viewed as a necessary requirement or consistent. So staff is recommending a more simplistic approach to the title, as each section of the guidelines is more appropriately delineating by the section headings. We're also amending the revision date to be an effective date that OAL will insert once the regulation is effective. And then also deleting the quarterly report form incorporation language, which was under subsection E. Instead, we're just including form requirements as part of the language within the disciplinary guidelines, and you'll see that in yellow highlight in the document. And then getting into the actual disciplinary guidelines document that we have included, in those changes. So on advice from the board's regulation attorney, staff made several edits to some probationary conditions within the document to address authority issues. In addition, we also made edits to areas of the document to provide more clarity, reformat the language, and correct non-substantive errors. Additions to that document are in yellow highlight, and then I'm just going to provide an overview of the changes that are being made and why. So for the cover page, we're just adding State of California, Department of Consumer Affairs, and that's to properly align with the department. And then we're also, again, as said before, deleting the reference to the uniform standards as part of the title, so it can match with the title and the regulation. And we've added the acupuncture board logo and also the board's contact information, like its address and website, phone number. And then there was a note on how to obtain additional copies of the guidelines, being that it will be accessed online. Didn't feel that note was necessary, so we deleted that. Then on page 22, term number 2, the quarterly reports probation term, we amended that to include revised language that clearly defines the reporting periods and outlines the quarterly report and declaration requirements, ensuring that all of the elements of the form that enforcement does use are incorporated. This revision is a more simplistic and succinct approach to incorporating the board's quarterly report and regulation. We also deleted the provision that authorizes a licensee's probation to be automatically extended until a final quarterly report is accepted by the board, and that was due to legal authority concerns. On page 24, probation term number 7, restriction on employing acupuncture assistants, restriction on the supervision of trainees, and prohibition on teaching. We are adding acupuncture assistants to the list of people licensees are prohibited from employing during the time they are on probation. And this is for greater public protection, as well as this is a newer provision under BPC section 4927, and the new authority for acupuncture assistants. So we wanted to include them. On page 25, term number 8 for cost recovery, deleting the provision that permits a licensee who fails to comply with cost recovery, but provides sufficient documentation of good faith efforts. We had originally proposed to receive that they would receive a probation extension for compliance, and that's because we had legal authority concerns with that, or the regulation unit pointed that out. On page 30, term number 19 for practice billing monitor, the condition is amended to require the monitor to prepare and submit quarterly written reports that evaluates the licensee's performance. And this is improving the process, which will allow us to have direct source communication from the monitor. Also deleted the provision that requires the licensee be suspended from the practice of acupuncture if the licensee fails to obtain approval of a replacement monitor. And again, that was due to some legal authority concerns. The term is amended to instead state the licensee shall not engage in the practice of acupuncture. Page 34, probation term number 24, examinations. We deleted the word severe within the note that refers to the applicability of this term. It is not necessarily a need for the the competency deficiencies to be severe in order for us to recommend the examination term be included in a decision. And then we also amended the note to specify that respondent shall take and pass the examination for clarity. Page 39, probation term number 31, supervised practice. We deleted the provision that automatically suspends the respondent's license until a supervisor is approved by the board due to some legal authority concerns. And then pages 61 through 66, which is our recommended action by violation of Acupuncture Licensure Act section. BPC section 4955.1A, which is securing a license by fraud or deception. We added a clarification that specifies revocation for all cases in which the respondent is not qualified for a license as part of the recommended maximum penalty. We also did some various corrections throughout and specified optional terms and conditions to fix any typos we had. So what we're recommending to the board is to adopt these proposed edits to the disciplinary guidelines document as well as the proposed text and the revisions that are presented today. And so if you don't have any further amendments to those to the proposed language or the document, you would go with option 1 to approve that. Or if you do have some amendments, you would go with option 2 and specify any amendments you guys have. So that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
I'd like to make a motion to go option number 1.
There is a motion on the floor.
I will second that.
Seconded. The motion is by Vice President Kim, seconded by Ruben Osorio. Option number 1, I'll go ahead and read it, is has been moved that the board rescind prior proposed text approved on October 26th, 2023, and approve the newly proposed regulatory language and changes to Division 13.7, Articles 6.1, 6.2, and Section 1399.469 of Title 16 of CCR, as provided in the materials, and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency for review. If no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. And finally, if no adverse comments are received during the 45-day comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and amend Division 13.7, Article 6.1, 6.2, and Section 1399.469 of Title 16 of the California Code of Regulations as noticed. Go ahead and open it up to public comment to members in the audience. Seeing none, let's turn. Okay. We have a comment here.
Neil Miller from CalAtma. This is a great document. Been asking for it for a long time to spell things out. I have a couple of questions. On page 35, 25.7, it's left blank the amount of the restitution. Can you explain that a little bit? That's based on the case itself, and that will be determined by the administrative hearing by the administrative judge. Right. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. Page 39. 39. 30.12. It's left blank the amount of hours and the years of probation. And how is that determined?
If it's at a hearing, it would be determined by the administrative law judge, and then it would go back to the board for final decision making. If it's a stipulated settlement, then it would be agreed upon between the EO and the respondent, and then again the board reviews that and makes the full final decision.
Is there a high and a low about what those would be? You know, how many hours or how many years or?
There's not a range provided, so it's based on different factors, factors of rehabilitation they may be presenting, the nature of the violation, any aggravating factors. So it's very nuanced and left
And
depending on the
lastly,
case by case.
on page 54 and 62. So I'll go to page 54. Talking about section 4936, I'll go to page 62. So the term doctor is, you're referring to medical doctor? It says misrepresentation as a doctor. So if somebody has a DAOM, or in my case, an OMD, or this doesn't apply to us?
It applies to any time. Well, it's in reference to 4936, which is part of our act. So it's anytime a licensee uses the title doctor unlawfully and doesn't meet the qualifications that are spelled out in 4936. So if you have an earned doctorate degree or certificate or a dual license that, allows you to use the title doctor, then you would meet the requirements for 4936. But if you don't have those things, and you're using the title doctor, then it's unlawful, and then it would be a misrepresentation.
Right. So I'm specifically talking about like the OMD, because the other doctorates are issued through the schools or through the accreditation people. But the OMD was a program. I did some research last night. There were 300 of them, and it was discontinued, I believe, in 2007. So there's 300 people. Do we qualify under this? Because there's no, we have a certificate from the school that says you're an OMD, and the state said you could grant these certificates for a while, but they stopped allowing those certificates, but that was determined that you couldn't take away the earned title of OMD.
Mr. Miller, I think you're getting into a question about who would qualify underneath the, excuse me. I think you're getting into a question about how does the statute apply to members of the public, and that's a legal analysis that the board just generally cannot provide in this situation. We are talking more right now about when someone has found to violate the statute, the guidelines used in the discipline for that.
Right, but I want to make sure that I or the other 299 people
Nothing's
are not
changing.
violating the statute.
The statute's not changing. We're addressing the regulation when it's violated.
Am I missing something? It's still not clear. Like, are you allowed to use?
We cannot say if your degree counts. That would be considered legal advice. What we're saying is that the statute that has been in existence is not changing, and this is just addressing that violation.
Okay, I'll address this at another time in more detail, because it's still not real clear. I don't know who else to ask other than the board as an authority on this.
I believe attorneys are the appropriate people to address this with.
Okay. It's still leaving a gray area.
That gray area was here before.
Okay.
Nothing is changing here. We are addressing when people hold themselves out as doctors when they are not, as described in that statute.
I think what Mr. Baudet is trying to indicate is that we are not changing any of the fundamental statutes for discipline. This is just, if someone has discipline, these will be the guidelines the board uses to determine the various ways to address that discipline.
Right. So, but we're still admitting that there's a gray area that exists.
We are not saying there's a gray area. We're saying that that is outside the scope of conversation right now.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment. Any additional comments from members of this audience? Seeing none, let us go ahead and turn to the WebEx audience.
All right, WebEx is open for public comment on the motion. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment longer to see if we have an online request for public comment. Seeing no request online, do you wish to continue with the motion?
Yes, please. We'll go ahead and move to roll call vote.
Dr. Yangping Chen,
Yes.
Francisco Kim,
Yes.
Shudong Li,
Yes.
Ruben Osorio,
Yes.
Gregory Liang,
Yes.
and the motion passes for option 1 to approve the revised text and the guidelines as revised.
Isn't it? Should we take a break, especially for this brothers read long the contents? Okay, tea time. Okay, take how many minutes?
15 for the union break, and then so back
Uh,
50.
okay, 10:50.
Thank you.
Thank you.
President Dr. Yangping Chen,
Yes.
Vice President Francisco Kim,
Yes.
Gregory Liang,
Yes.
Shudong Li,
Yes.
Ruben Osorio.
Yes.
Okay, we're all here.
Thank you. Next item, item 7, Executive Management Report.
Thank you, Madam President. We will go ahead and start with the budget update. And let's see if our budget representative is online with us. There she is.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Jennifer Tompkins, and I am a budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office here with Budget Manager Suzanne Balkis. I wanted to thank the board and executive staff for allowing me a few minutes to present on agenda item 7A, the board's expenditure projections, revenue projections, and fund condition statement. First, I'm going to start with the board expenditures, which is page number 157 of your materials. These projections are based on actual data through fiscal month 2. This report includes 2024 to 25 actual expenditures in green, as well as 2025-26 budgeted and projected expenditures in blue and orange, which also includes a budget allocation breakdown. As we move to the end of the document, you will see this is a breakdown of the expenditures. The board had a beginning base budget of approximately 3.9 million and is projected to spend approximately 3.4 million, creating a reversion to the board's fund of approximately 457,000, a reversion percentage of 11.7%. The next document I will be going over is the board's revenue projections, page number 158 of your materials. This report includes receipts collected through August and is projected revenue to year end. The board is currently projected to collect around 4.2 million in revenue this fiscal year. I will go further into the projections as we transition to the next slide. The last slide, page number 159 of your materials, is the board's fund condition statement. As a reminder, we read this document top to bottom, then left to right. The left column is the board's prior year 2024-25 actuals. It shows the board began the 2024-25 fiscal year with a beginning balance of just over 4.8 million and collected over 4.45 million in revenues with 705,000 from initial license fees, 3.11 million from license renewals, and 634,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The board expended 3.1 million, which includes 175,000 in direct draws for the fund for statewide pro rata and pension payments. The board ended 2024-25 with around 6.2 million in reserve balance, or about 19.9 months in reserve. For current year 25-26, the board projects revenues of 4.2 million, with 706,000 projected from initial license fees, 2.93 million from renewal fees, and 565,000 from the issuance of citations, fines, delinquent fees, and other revenue. The board's 2025-26 expenditures are based on fiscal month 2 projections and is about 3.72 million between authorized expenditures and direct draws to the fund, leaving the board with a fund balance of 6.7 million or 21.1 months in reserve. The budget office will continue to monitor the board revenue and expenditures and report back to the board with monthly expenditure projections as we continue to close the fiscal months in the current year. A few things to note about the fund condition. The fund condition is a snapshot in time. One of the main factors driving expenditure increases in future years is the result of personal service adjustments. This includes general salary increases, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The budget office includes a conservative ongoing 3% increase for expenditures on the fund condition statement to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. You will also notice revenue is projected higher in the out years. Lastly, I would like to note that to the board that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the board's need for additional resources, which could create cost pressure on the fund. The budget office will continue to monitor the board fund condition and keep the line of communication with the executive staff open for any future needs or expectations. Again, thank you for your time and allowing me the opportunity to present at today's meeting. I will now be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tompkins. Any questions from the board members? We'll go ahead and continue through the executive report. Thank you, Ms. Tompkins. We really appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Yes. We can go ahead and move to the 2 licensing reports that have occurred.
Hello there, board members. It's my pleasure to report to you on some licensing statistics today and to everybody out there in the land of the internet and in the room with us here today. So I'm going to start with the Q. We have reported up through Q3 of 24-25, and so I'm going to start today with fiscal year 24-25 Q4 reporting for licensing statistics, and then we actually, because of the timeline, have another report which will be the fiscal year 25-26 Q1 reporting. So you'll have that to start with. And then I'll finish up with the education CALE rate pass raise. So to start with, in Q4 for our active licensees, there were 10,109 licensees. Of those licensees, so those were active. Inactive was 1,425. Delinquent was 1,518. And then the total valid licenses, which are licenses that can be renewed, are 13,052. We canceled 162 licenses in terms of that. And then in terms of new licenses renewed in the Q4, initial licenses approved were 75. None were denied. In Q4, license renewals were 1,145. Wall licenses, active licenses were 5,764, with 379 new initial wall licenses within that period, and then 458 wall license renewals. Then moving on to the continuing education reporting, new provider applications approved. These are providers that can provide, once they're approved, can provide CE hour educations for our licensees were 12. CE provider applications denied were 0. And then course applications received, let's see, provider renewals was 25. Course applications received in that period were 473. And then course applications approved were 550 with 0 course denials. And the reason between the applications received and approved are different is that the receiving is when staff receives the application for the continuing education, but the providers can select a date to start with in the future with that. And so that's going to reflect the approval date. So those are a little out of sync because of the different timelines that they both can have. Then going on to the educational and training program, for applications of board approval of curriculum received, we received 10 in the fourth quarter. Of those 10, there were 12 incomplete, which is an interesting number there. And then the applications approved were 5, and nobody lost approval in that period of time. So the incomplete, there was some carryover from prior months that maybe was a lapse when they failed to respond, and that'll explain why that number is slightly different there. Then moving on to the tutorial training program. In the Q4 of 24-25, we received 8 new applications for tutorial programs. There were 8 programs approved, 3 programs were completed, and 1 program was terminated or abandoned. And then total approved training programs for the end of Q4 25 or 24-25 was 66. So we're going to start at the top again and go through those numbers 1 quarter later, so you're kind of refreshed on what happened just recently, and now we can look at the next period to report. So in Q1 25-26, there was 10,086 active licensees. There's 1,405 inactive licensees, 1,421 delinquent licensees, and the total number of valid licenses that are renewable were 12,912. In that quarter, 179 licenses were canceled. We approved 63 new initial applications for licensures. None were denied. There were 1,228 license renewals. Active wall licenses were 5,819 with 386 new initial wall licenses and wall license renewal of 454. Moving on to continuing education again, for 25-26 Q1, 12 new providers were approved during that period. 0 providers were denied. CE provider renewals were 31. Course applications received were 507. Course applications approved were 496, and there were no course denials. And on to educational and training programs. We did receive new applications for board approval of curriculum of 6. Resubmissions, and this is a little bit of a way of kind of reporting this one, where somebody submits a new application, and if there's some deficiencies, and they'll resubmit. So we're capturing what's resubmitted as opposed to new. So we received 6 new, and then ongoing resubmissions, there were 12. Of those, all those received, of those applications board approval of curriculum, there were 12 that were incomplete. We approved 3 programs, and then 1 program lost approval during that period of time. I think that may be, that might have been the Emperor's one. I don't have it right in front of me, but that's what comes to mind. Then for a tutorial training program, for applications received in the Q1 of this period were 9. New program approvals were 11. Programs completed were 3. Nobody was terminated or revoked as a tutorial student, and there's a total of 74 approved tutorial training programs. Should we take a break and talk about those before I go on to the KL statistics, or should I just keep running?
Maybe we can discuss on this.
Okay. So I'll just continue to go with that one. So for the exam statistics reporting period between 1/1/2025 and 6/30/2025, we had the first time pass rate overall for people taking the exam. There was 101 people who passed, 32 failed, and of those 133, that represents 76% pass rate for first time takers. If we combine everybody, there was 116 passes and 68 failures, which was a 63% pass rate, very consistent to the numbers that we've had in the past. And as reported by our Office of Professional Exam Services, the exam is performing well. And then finally, if we talk about exam results, statistics by language, the pass rate for Chinese, there were 24 passes, 9 fails, which was a 73% pass rate. English, there was 82 passes and 53 fails, which was 61%. And then for Korean, there were 10 pass, 6 fails for a 63% pass rate. The overall pass rate for all test takers, there was 116 total, 168 passes, 68 fails, which is an overall rate, same to the other one at 63%. And that is the end of the licensing report.
Thank you, Mr. Hurt. Are there any questions from the board members on the licensing reports?
Yes, I do have one. Am I seeing different, or the license have been increased back to the level before the pandemic?
We're kind of hovering around there. I mean, if we look at the close of Q4, total valid licenses were 13,052, and if you look at the close of Q1 of 25-26, it's 12,912, which is a slight decrease, but we've been kind of hovering around that with a trend of very, very mild decrease in licensure overall. We do have a project aligned right now where we would like to present the board with a number of years to be able to track that and see that that's moving forward. Yeah, so it's not dramatic. I think there's a number of factors involved, though. One is we do have an aging kind of group that there was kind of a heyday of licensing, and a lot of those practitioners are retiring or stopping practices. So that's one decrease. The other thing is we had a number of out-of-state people that were holding their licenses, and as our fees increases, there is a trending of those people if they're in Washington State or they're in Florida or something like that, and they don't plan coming back, they just will not choose to lose their license. Not choose to renew their license in terms of that stuff. So and those are kind of anecdotal. I don't have statistics to back up, but that's what I'm seeing from kind of seeing it on a daily operational level. So we're kind of hovering in there with a slight decrease overall, with some possible factors.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jay.
This is Gregory Leong, a generalist. I asked the same question before, and I'm still ponder over it. On the active license, we have 10,086, but on the active war license, we only have 5,819, which is something like 50%. Is there any way that we can raise it up to about 70%?
Well, I don't know how we can raise the percent, but the board is definitely actively pursuing methods for increasing compliance with wall licenses. We do have a process right now where we're going to prepare some communications with people who have an active license but don't have a wall license, and reminding of the requirements, and then trace those and work with communicating with that licensee base to get them up to compliance. And if people are resistant, then it could end up in some kind of enforcement action at some point. But you're right that it's been a slow adoption rate with it, and even though the board has communicated many times, it feels like there's more effort, like you're noticing, to get that to be more similar, right? So yeah, that's a good point.
can we raise the amount of penalty if they don't have an active wall license?
Well, we were able to, for a violation of not having a wall license, we could cite them up to $2,500, typically. But right now, if somebody's really reluctant to do the wall license, or in an enforcement case, it's found that they don't have a wall license, or there's a complaint about not a wall license, we tend to cite lower than that. I mean, they're going to be base by base. I'm not going to give a number, but usually it's in the 250 range, depending on the scenario. But it's not like everybody gets that. It's like depending on the case. And with every enforcement case, if there's no wall license, we will ask for compliance before we close those cases right now. So we're trying to find a way to get the effort out there and to get the word on the street that it is a requirement. It is, when you're working in a location, that is your license sitting up on the wall, right? So.
Yeah, this is important to me because, like a customer, you go into a acupuncturist office, you have no idea how good is that acupuncturist, and you don't know their license or not. So having a wall license is important for a customer or patient.
Yeah, I can make the statement. Any consumer going in for acupuncturists, when you walk into your acupuncturist office and it's in a location that you regularly see them, they should have a wall license, right? So that would be something they could let the board know, and we can work with helping that licensee attain compliance.
Another question I have, I think somebody mentioned about a pocket size, like a credit card size license.
Well, right now, every licensee, when they renew, they get a pocket license, right? Which is a renewal of their license. It gives a period, and if it's if they're inactive, it'll say inactive on the license itself. If they're not inactive, it just shows the license. So yeah, everybody gets a new pocket license every time they renew. The one that I think what you're referring to, the one that we do is paper based. There was some talk about having a plastic license or something along that line, which was kind of, I mean, the Med Board was doing that for a while, but they've discontinued that. They've actually offered licensees in lieu of the paper license that they can have a digital license, so you can, validate them that way. And then we also have the DCA license verification process that anybody can put in a name or a location and verify if your acupuncturist is currently licensed, if they've had any disciplinary actions against them, that kind of stuff. So that's available at all times for everybody to search on. So.
Okay, thank you.
And to add to Member Leung's line of questioning, we have included the wall license requirement in our consumer guide's newest draft. So now it does list that a consumer should expect to see a wall license. And in that same guide, we also note that they should expect to see the notice to consumers, as well as how to verify a license current standing prior to engaging the services of an acupuncturist online.
Thank you.
Thanks, Member Liang. It's a good question. It has been a while. So I think the 4 hours of law and ethics, that class also help all the licensee to know now they have the obligation to put the wall license there. Before they didn't even know. So a lot of them, they don't have email, and email go to spam, so they never knew actually they need a wall license. So as the continuing education and also consumer guide, those two will help great, I think. So thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. For the number of active licensee and the valid, the number kind of steady, but there's always about 3,000 differences. That means they're valid, but they are not active, right? Yeah, makes sense. Right. And then for those canceled license is this is every quarter or it's just accumulative, right?
The number of canceled reporting one. Quarter one of the five.
Canceled. Yeah.
Although the delinquent one, people will come back. The ones that canceled, and license if it's not renewed within 3 years. Yeah.
So from the big picture is the valid license is steady, but the new initial license is in 70, between 70, I mean, yeah, around the 60 to 70, but the canceled is always, more than that. So that means in big picture is the number of licensee is declining, right? And then some of them are retiring, I guess.
Well, we don't have a retired status.
Yeah. Yeah.
When people don't want to maintain the only way they can stop.
This is the moderator. Can we get this person a microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry about that, David. I forgot to push the button.
Oh.
Let's,
Sorry.
where was I? Right. Start with your question again, Francisco. I'll do it all better.
Yeah, in the big picture, the canceled license is kind of steadily, I mean, always bigger than the new initial license. That means some of them are retiring or uh, losing their license. So
Yeah.
big number of licensee is in the big picture is decreasing.
Yeah, as opposed to how many new initial licenses are going in. And like what I was talking about before too is one of the reasons that we chose to get a retired status is that licensees who had maybe worked for 30 or 40 years or whatever and had a practice, they didn't like to be showing on their license lookup as canceled, right? So now they'll be able to, when they want to do their license, they can say, I'm going to retire, whatever. We'll put them on retired status. And then when they go and license lookup, they'll show as retired and not as canceled. And that we do, the other point that I made is that a license that isn't renewed will cancel in 3 years automatically. The board staff doesn't have to do anything like that. So they haven't renewed, then they will cancel. We have upped our effort of notifying licensees. We do frequent email notifications around delinquency now. And then definitely with canceled licenses, we'll remind them 3 months before they're going to cancel. And we remind them 60 days before they cancel, 30 days before they cancel, and 15 days before they cancel. So by the time they canceled, we've talked to them and we really tried to let them know that that's going on. And it is a really upsetting thing for licensee if for some reason they lose track and they cancel their license. And it's a short period. 3 years is a really short period. It definitely doesn't lead to a happy moment to share that with licensees that their license have canceled if they wanted to maintain it. And the other point I made is the only way to return your license is to retake the acupuncture licensing, California acupuncture licensing exam, and you'll actually get a new number then. You don't even get your old number. You'll get a brand new number once you retest. Now, the good news is they don't have to requalify. They just have to pass the test, which is fretful for some people.
Mm. And from my observation, the reason of this the difference in between active or valid license number and active world license is I think most of them are part-time or not actually, engaging in the practice, just renewing their license.
Well, the requirement for a wall license, even if you're only doing it one day a week, if you're there regularly, let's say I'm in one clinic on Tuesday and another clinic on Friday, and I only do it once a week for the afternoon between 1 o'clock and 4, by definition, you would need a wall license for both of those locations. So there's no benefit for being part-time and not needing a wall license. It's like if you're in a regular physical location that you say, come back to see me next Tuesday or come back to see me in 3 months or whatever at this location, they do need a wall license, right? So it's really more along what as Gregory was questioning on. There are a number of licensees that are working that do need to get in wall license compliance, and we're trying to find as many ways that we can communicate and encourage that compliance.
And then also I see from my observation, a lot of them, they don't feel confident enough to open their own practice and rather to work for someone else. And maybe that's why they kept their license current by attending, CEU courses. So this could be the reason of this. I mean, once they got the license, but they think they are not, confident enough to practice, So I think that's there's also the education and training issues rising there, because suppose the physician licensees are just half of them are not practicing, or then there could be a big reason, maybe financially. So same thing, like this is the case. We have to look into that as a like so-called gainful employment issue. Yeah.
But the scenario you say is a valid situation. You could have an active license and not have a place of practice, and so you wouldn't have to report that. And it may be that you're doing home visits in irregular places, or that you're not seeing patients, but you want to maintain it. Like next month, I'm going to get an opportunity, or maybe my master will open up a room and let me go into his clinic or something along that line, right? So.
And the other thing is I can think of is their insurance issue, because maybe some are not confident enough to see the accept insurance patient and bill for their services because of maybe their aging. Their age is I mean they don't kind of good in billing, electronically. Maybe they could be the reason.
There is, I mean, I'm working in the board and hearing from many licensees, there is challenges between being a medical provider and a business person at the same time, and particularly in private practice. So that is challenging. It's like two hats that acupuncturists have to wear. So you leave acupuncture school well-trained, but then you learn, I got to go to business school next or something like that. Medical business, it's challenging.
Yeah, and another one is the continuing education provider. The number is kind of fluctuate, but it's kind of pretty much steady. And once they apply, then they get approved. But I see the renewal is way smaller. Means once they apply for continuing education, and maybe they are not renewing, or
well, that's every month. I mean, we're not showing the total number of CE providers here in this reporting, but we're not having complaints from licensing saying that they can't find courses or whatever. And that if you look at, we had 12 new providers in Q1 of 25-26, and we had 12 new providers in Q4 of 24-25. So, I mean, every month people are coming in there, and I think maybe some. I mean, just from kind of knowing how the program works, we have like maybe under 20 providers that are putting out many classes with lots of instructors, and then there's a number of smaller people that maybe do 1 or 2 classes, and they may skip a year, or they may start and things like that because of, again, it's a big deal to put on an education program, and particularly competing with some of our more robust providers, so.
And then isn't there an issue to oversighting or possibly like audit them?
We audit licensees, and in the process of that, we would audit the providers. One of the good things about our new, which we'll talk about even more later, with our new online system for CE providers, the way that the application process works, it's really hard for them to be out of compliance with their applications and things like that. So what they need to do is built in there as required fields, and so we're not having the same issues that we have, but we start auditing licensees and end up with a bunch of, provider deficiencies along with licensee deficiencies right now. So,
because the reason I'm asking is maybe some of the small groups just applied for the for the continuing education provider, and then they only use just for a few times in several years. Like
yes,
that.
that's true.
Yeah, because when I went to Korea and they had the more say authority to control the CU courses, there are few only or only 1 or 2 in the region, in the whole country, each region. So they have to be approved by. It's more like approved by the association.
Right.
Itself, yeah, so that they can have a peer review on whether this is worth to try or not, like that. So maybe we can maybe in the future think about that possible method.
I think this is since we're talking about the exams, a good time to also update the board on the fact that the occupational analysis that is being used to develop the exam is currently being developed and will be released sometime in January. Us will communicate with the association as well. We would love to see the wonderful participation we had in the last occupational analysis. 5% of our licensees responding. Love to see that again. So translating into effective language last time. And that might be also, we can look to include a question about wall license. They have a license. It's anonymous, so I thought that's another way of figuring that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for the licensing reports, including exam? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Hoot.
Online now.
We're going to do comments at the end of the executive management report. Would you be able to go ahead and move into the business modernization update since you're up there?
That's perfect. Okay, cool. So the board has continued its business modernization efforts. We're working directly with the Office of Information Services, which is the DCA's IT department. We have a business analyst and staffing there that supports our efforts. We also work with our contractor in Lumen, which provides outside development, and particularly on that our experts in that program. And then, of course, we're having a really good effort and experience with our acupuncture board staff in both licensing, continuing education, and in enforcement. So what we're doing right now, we're continuing on continuous development and refinement of the licensing processes. Just some highlights on that. We've CE audit's been live since 1/2025 in an automated system. I mean, we have had audits before, but now it's much easier to administer the audit process using an automated system. Also, we now have the ability to do all the cashiering in the Connect system, which will allow us to move away from the legacy system that we're using for cashiering. So staff is kind of really moving towards one platform. And then also, we do have a major effort going on right now to include a Connect enforcement module system that we're developing with that. And that's in the early stages of development. We've developed online complaint processes and then queuing up of it and some of the queues on that one. So that'll continue to be worked on, and hopefully we will be able to offer an online complaint system to go live that will go into Connect in the near future. And that's it.
Any questions from members regarding business modernization update? Thank you, Mr. Hurt. And the final reports for the executive management reports are the enforcement reports. And I can go ahead and take those. We turn to the materials. The first report will be Q4 of 24-25. For members and audiences edification, any item, any category that we were previously reporting that did not get any complaints, I just removed. So what you see here are based on complaints we did receive in this quarter. And these are just complaints. So 6 were for fraud, 1 was non-jurisdictional, 8 were for incompetence/negligence, 6 was for unprofessional conduct, 2 for sexual misconduct, 4 for unlicensed or unregistered, and 11 were regarding criminal charges or convictions, all regarding licensees. In investigations, we have 38 total received, 52 were closed in that quarter, with a total of 318 pending. I think this was a precipitous drop compared to what we had prior to that. If we turn to the next page, we'll see more encouraging figures with that drop. But we'll start at the top for the complaints received. Oh, I'm sorry. Perhaps I should keep it to this quarter first. So I'll go to the discipline first. It'll be the page after. At the top of the page, you'll see Q4, April 1st, 2025 to June 30th of 2025. So this is for the Q4. As noted, the total is 38 there. And that is from the 27 received plus the 11 criminal convictions also communicated to us. Performance measure 2, total intake cycle time was 2 days to close or assign a case received, a complaint, excuse me. For performance measure 3, investigatory cycle time in Q4, 51 desk investigations were closed. Again, you can see here where we're tracking over the year. Each of the 4 quarters, nearly a doubling in the amounts closed as we drew more staff's attention on this and even some management attention as well. Some more management attention. 2 field investigations closed in this time, a total of 53 investigations closed. Average days for all these investigations to close was 632 days. Moving on, aging of non-AG cases. Of those, we had 20 were up to 90 days, 6 were 91 to 180 days, 9 were 181 to 1 year, 5 were 1 to 2 years, and 2 were 2 to 3 years, with 11 of over 3 years. And we're seeing a welcome close to a number of the older cases that we've had, which is why that over 3 years number is there, as we have more expertise evaluating some of the more challenging cases that we've had to hold on to. Non-AG discipline, Q4, there were no citations issued, no days, being that there was none, there was no days closed, and 0 licenses were denied. Next page, performance measure 4, cycle time from initial to discipline. Total final orders in that time was 1. And again, here is that challenging number, 3,216 days to complete due to the more complex nature of the case and needing to communicate with a number of agencies on that. Moving on to AG actions, we only had 1. If you move down to voluntary surrender, there was 1 voluntary surrender in the last quarter. AG action timeframes, being that there was one, and that 3,000 day span, you'll note that it is captured there in the over 3 years. Other legal actions, there was one Penal Code 23 issued where we wanted to suspend a license to protect the public based on the arrest and criminal case with no interim suspensions. And then our probation report, there's one probationer currently on probation, no accusations. Again, this is for quarter 4 of 24-25, no accusations that time or subsequent discipline final orders. Now moving back a page for the enforcement update for fiscal year 2025-2026, quarter 1. This is for July through September, the most recent quarter to close. Again, any categories that were not triggered or we did not receive a complaint on are excluded from the list. We did receive 1 for unsafe or unsanitary conditions, 4 for fraud, 7 for incompetence or negligence, 1 other, 13 for unprofessional conduct, 1 sexual misconduct, 3 unlicensed, unregistered, and 5 criminal charges or convictions. Again, all were reported on licensees, not on applicants. In our investigations chart, here we have a total of 35 complaints received in this last quarter. 68 were closed, and we're now pending 263. So another welcome drop in the number of pending cases that we have. Go ahead and skip through that enforcement performance measures for quarter 4 and turn to quarter 1 of July through September of this year. We'll see the 35 total complaints received for performance measure 1. Our total intake time for performance measure 2 is 4 days in this last quarter. Performance measure 3, investigatory cycle time. We had 57 desk investigations closed, 11 field investigations closed for a total of 68 investigations closed, and our average days to close these investigations is at 1,080 days, so we have a drop there. Moving on to aging of non-AG cases, 12 of the ones that closed, 12 took up to 90 days, 13 took 91 to 180, 5 took 181 to 1 year, 181 days to 1 year, 7 took 1 to 2 years, there were no 2 to 3 years, and 31 of those cases took over 3 years, and that again is an indication of closing the older cases and getting through that backlog. Non-AG discipline, 2 final citations were issued. Average day to close and complete that was 294. No licenses were denied on those. Performance measure 4, cycle time of initial discipline, there was no cases there. And again, for AG actions, no AG actions took place in that time, in this last quarter. And therefore, there were no timeframes for those AG actions. Of other legal actions, there was no PC-23s or interim suspensions. And for the probationers, just 1 probationer at the moment, as of September 30th. Any questions from the board members on these newest statistics?
So it seems after the board have the vacancy filled, and it's much more efficient, right? So it's in good condition right now.
Yes, we're very encouraged with our analysts. They've definitely been going at it, and they've received training, and we're continuing to work on that as well as developing the new enforcement system. So they're handling a lot.
This is Gregory Leong, generalist. On the sexual misconduct, I know the number is very low, but we still have pending of 23. And do we notify the police on sexual misconduct?
If we hear about it as an arrest, yeah, we are informed by the police or we get a subsequent arrest notification. But in terms of sexual misconduct, if we get the complaint of that, then we investigate first.
Okay, we not necessary notify the police?
We do not call them. Do you have it? Yeah.
We could look into it to see if there's any requirements to notify the police. Off the top of my head, I am not aware of any, but I don't have this information prepared. So, if this is something you would like us to look into, we can look at this into it and provide further information.
Because I know that most of the Asians do not like to deal with the police on this kind of issues, especially because of families, reputation things that they have. But for our parts, maybe sometimes if we feel it necessary to report it to the police, that means let them also do a criminal investigation. That will help to even reduce the number of sexual misconduct more. Okay.
I just wanted to add, when Division of Investigation, their sworn peace officers, when they conclude an investigation and feel there is sufficient evidence, they will send that on to law enforcement or district attorney and have communication on a criminal level.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from board members regarding the enforcement reports for both quarters? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment for members of the audience on any of the reports provided in the executive management report.
Neil Miller from CalAtma. Regarding the occupational analysis, I believe you offered CEs the last time, and that'll be offered again. So I think that's why you got a good turnout. And do you know when that is going to be issued? When the next occupational analysis is?
We anticipate that it will be out by the end of January 2026.
And in terms of enforcement, the most outstanding number is the overall number of sexual misconducts is down. I've been talking about that for years and years and years, and having one is one too many, but it's a big victory compared to what we have. And although there's a lot of cases pending, you could see, I mean, if you have a history of this, you could see that they're closing out a lot faster than they have. And I think that the board is doing a good job in relationship to the recommendations from the Joint Legislative Review on being able to resolve these things a little bit quicker. So you did a great job there. The wall license. There was a reason why they did the wall license. And since you've done the wall license, I have continually asked, and I'll continue to ask, is it effective? Because if it's not, I like to see statistics, because if it's not effective, then get rid of it. Because I think that the pocket license or having some sort of digital ID is sufficient. And I think that having this wall license is overkill. So once again, I'll bring it up for new things to talk about or recommendations for future meetings. But it's appropriate here to bring about that we still haven't gotten any response, any statistics as to whether or not the whole program is working or not. Is it just collecting $50 from everybody? So it's not being reflected in the numbers so far. So I just wanted to know if you had if there was going to be some process to be able to analyze this in the future. I'm recommending that, and I'll bring it up under new items. Thank you. And if you break these 4 sections down, it's a little easier to talk after each one than to try to remember all 4 of them and keep them. So just FYI.
Gina Huang, Five Branches University. And I would like to request the possibility the school can request a exam taker analysis report for our students, the graduates that took the exams. NCCOM has this report that we can purchase semi-annually or annually report and give us a breakdown of how our students doing for each category. And I think that will be very helpful for us to analyze what the weaknesses are for our graduates and also the ones that did not pass the exam, that we can be able to reach out to help them. Because currently, when it was offered in person, we normally go to the exam center and to see which of, who is going to take the exam, who is there at the exam center. But with everything's online now, it's really hard for schools to track who actually applied and completed exams. So we'd like to have some kind of reports that can help us to help our students as well. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Dr. Farshid Namin, faculty of the USAN University. My question is regarding the licensing report and also the combination, I think the link between the job analysis, which has been done 2-3 years ago, is that job analysis make any changes in the licensing exam on CALE exam? So because there's so much finding on the job analysis, including Western medicine and also integration of the Western medicine with the TCM, is that finding interpreted in the current CALE exam? Thank you.
Indeed. The occupational analysis is used to develop the exams after that's conducted. Any additional comments or questions, or comments actually, from the audience here? Seeing none, let's turn to the WebEx audience.
All right, WebEx is taking public comment on agenda item 7. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds to see if we have a request for public comment online. Seeing no online requests, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Thank you, David. Next. Okay. Oh, we'll take a break. What time? It's 11:50.
It's just
You will finish? Yeah. Huh?
I think we usually get through it unless.
You want to just finish?
Yeah, I think we can finish.
No, lunch.
Unless people need to use the restroom.
Huh?
Do a break until
Break.
12 o'clock, yeah?
Okay. 12? Oh, a little longer. It's 11:52.
We've only got 2 items left. So we can take a 15-minute break?
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way.
We took it earlier, but we can take another one, yeah. In terms of addressing union, yes, and thank you so much for considering that. But yeah, we did provide one earlier, and we're going to provide another 15-minute break. It's 11:52, so please return at 12:07. I'm sorry, 12. Yeah, 7.
Okay, so now we restart meeting. I forgot if I probably didn't announce my name. So now, my name is Yongping Chen. I'm the current president of Acupuncture Board. So now we continue the meeting. Roll call, please.
Dr. Yongping Chen,
Yes.
Francisco Kim,
Yes.
Shudong Li,
Yes.
Ruben,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Okay, we're all here.
Thank you. Okay, well, next session, we're going to item 8, legislative report and the possible action on bills of interest to the board. Mr. Brothers, please.
Thank you, President. So we're going to start with, we did include the tentative 2026 legislative calendar. Since 2025 has wrapped up, the session has ended. Just looking forward, January 5th, that's when the legislature will reconvene. And so we'll see the new bills come through in January and February. To the legislation of interest memo. This is just a final status and conclusion of all of the bills that we've been tracking. So the first bill is AB 45 by Bauer and Kahan, privacy, health data, location, and research. This bill has been chaptered and its laws take effect January 1st, 2026. AB 45 addresses several critical issues related to health data privacy, particularly concerning individuals seeking reproductive health services. We didn't find that this bill, although it applies to Division II Healing Arts licensees, including acupuncturists, it doesn't really substantively affect licensees too much, nor the board. So we're not expecting any implementation steps for this bill. The next bill, AB 485, brought by Ortega, Labor Commissioner, unsatisfied judgments, non-payment of wages. This bill is dead for 2025. So I'll just move on to the next bill, AB 489, BONTA, Healthcare Professions, Deceptive Terms or Letters, Artificial Intelligence. This bill was chaptered into law, and those laws take effect January 1st, 2026. Just a quick summary of that bill. The new laws proposed by AB 489 prohibits artificial intelligence and generative AI systems from using titles, letters, or phrases that falsely imply they are licensed healthcare professionals, and it authorizes the healthcare licensing boards to enforce each violation. And then you can see here the board analysis and fiscal impact that we previously had provided to the board in prior board meetings. The board implementation plan, the steps that we've outlined is just that we're going to be adding these new sections of law to our laws and regulations booklet, and those are sections 4999.8 and 4999.9. We'll also want to update the enforcement's violation code index that relates to our current IT system. And then also we'll want to provide notice to enforcement staff and update all enforcement procedures. Not really too much is being changed by that bill, given that it relates to unlawful practice, which we already have. We already have a law that relates to that. So, and then the next bill, AB 742. This was Department of Consumer Affairs licensing applicants who are descendants of slaves, introduced by El Hawari. And it was actually vetoed by the governor on October 13th. And I did provide the rationale for that. So AB 742 would have required expedited professional licensure for descendants of American slaves once the certification process was established. While supporting the goal of increasing diversity and access to licensure, the governor expressed concerns that prioritizing one group could delay other applications and raise licensing fees due to increased staffing needs. He noted he had previously vetoed similar bills for the same reasons and stated that more data is needed on the impacts of expedited licensure before implementing such policies. AB 1186 by Patel. This is on data collection, race and ethnicity, minimum categories. That bill is dead for 2025. And then Senate Bill 470 by Liard. This was relating to the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, specific to teleconferencing. This bill has been chaptered, and those laws will take effect January 1st, 2026. And it just provides that we'll continue to have this alternative teleconference option. Previously, it was going to expire January 1st, 2026. So that date has been repealed, and it will now, or the laws will then now be repealed in January 1st, 2030. And we don't expect any implementation steps for this. Senate Bill 641. This was by Ashby, Department of Consumer Affairs and Department of Real Estate, states of emergency, waivers, and exemptions. This was vetoed by the governor on October 13th. SB 641 would have allowed licensing boards to waive certain laws for those affected by declared emergencies and banned below market unsolicited real estate offers in disaster areas. The governor acknowledged the intent to provide quick regulatory relief and protect property owners, but noted that his administration already coordinates targeted disaster relief without this bill. He also criticized the bill as overly broad, applying to all disasters regardless of housing impact, and pointed out an enforcement gap for real estate licensees acting on their own behalf. So due to those concerns, he declined to sign that bill. And that concludes the legislative report.
Regulation.
This is a separate report.
All right. So let's open discussion. Thank you, Ms. Brothers and board member.
You think there will be another upcoming or directly involved acupuncture related legislatures bills will come up in this year or next year?
I have not heard anything. I don't know if Ben has heard anything. I don't know if we're going to be bringing anything.
Nothing official. Yeah. I mean,
I have nothing to share.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions or comments regarding the bills that have passed this year? No? Open up for public comment. Members of the audience in the room? Seeing no movement. Let's turn to WebEx.
WebEx is taking public comment on agenda item 8. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. And we have a request from a Gmail account. Hold on just a moment, please. We're sending you a request to unmute your microphone.
Hi, this is Philip Young from California University, Silicon Valley, and also represent AACMA. Here, I do have the question for the using the AI that I'm not very clear what that proposal of the bill means. It means not allowed to use the AI to assist Medicare professionals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was our only request for public comment.
Thank you.
Just continue next. Okay, so let's continue the next item, regulatory update.
All right. So this is just kind of a continuation from this morning, providing more of an update with all of the rulemaking packages we're working on. So the first one is our disciplinary guidelines. So as reported this morning, we did submit the complete rulemaking draft package to the regulation unit for regulatory and budget review on April 30th. And then they completed the review of the initial statement of reasons and the guidelines themselves in early September. And then we brought some revisions to the board, and you guys just voted on that to move forward with revised text and edits to the guidelines. So that will continue on. We also have to address some edits made throughout the initial statement of reasons. So I'm just working on our rulemaking documents. And then the next package is aligning the curriculum standards and approval related regulations with statute. And this is just taking care of some leftover areas of our regulations that don't conform with SB 1246, as well as when we moved over to computer-based testing. So those, some of the amendments that were approved in 2021 by the board were actually submitted through a Section 100, and those became effective March 27th last year. And then we also then identified remaining amendments that required revisions, and staff worked on incorporating all of those edits in discussion with licensing staff. And those include additional amendments, consistency between tutorial and training program requirements, reformatting and reorganization of multiple regulations. And then on September 3rd, that was sent over, those draft amendments were sent to management for review. So that's under management review. The third rulemaking is the application for retired status and restoration. So the new and updated proposed language was approved at the board's March 2024 meeting. And as stated previously in the meeting, the notice was published by OAL on September 12th. And there was a 45-day comment period, which closed October 27th. And we didn't receive any comments. I just drafted the remaining rulemaking documents for the final phase, final filing phase, and those are with management under review. So moving along, and then the standards of practice for telehealth services, that also completed its 45-day comment period on August 18th, and the board just heard the recommended responses to those public comments that we received and voted on the modified language. So then we'll, shortly after this meeting, we'll prepare that for a 15-day comment period. And then we have our hand hygiene requirements. The board approved revised text at our last board meeting in June, and staff recently submitted the completed initial statement of reasons and economic and fiscal impact statement to the regulation unit for their review on October 17th. And they did actually already complete their review and have some edits. So we'll continue on drafting the remaining rulemaking documents as part of the production phase. And then it'll go on for director and agency review. And that concludes the regulation report and all of the statuses.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brothers. Any comments from board member? So let's open comments from the room, audience in the room. Any comments? No? Okay, let's open online comments.
WebEx is taking public comment for agenda item at 9. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue with the agenda?
Thank you, David. Let's go next item 10, report and possible action on November 5th, 2025 licensing committee meeting. Chair Kim, please.
Hi, this is Member Kim, the chair of licensing and education committee. We had a committee meeting yesterday regarding the education, and we had some. The item was the doctorate degree, and it was regarded as a issue between ACOM and the school because board doesn't have currently have scope of oversighting that issue, and then other requirements and in externship hours. There was some discussion on that, and I think it's the issue, not the hours. Actually, the quality of education defines the scope and other things. So I suggested to have associations and other professional stakeholders have a stakeholders meeting to take this issue more of seriously and more on the currently. I think the standard of the profession or the education standard is at as in the board level is minimum competency, and I think the profession like the other healthcare profession, everything is evolving and merging and developing and into a different level, like the AI technology. For example, you see more and more athletic trainers, Pilates studios. They are making much more money than conventional other healthcare clinics sometimes, and that's because of the demand of the market. So I think it's about time to reconsider the standard of education so that we can include other modalities and update the acupuncture or TCM knowledge into 21st century like level. So like I said, I recommend or I encourage all the masters who has been out there for many years and not involving in developing this standard of education, whether school or other accreditations the agency. I'm urging again, and this current the professional standard is minimum level. So I urge you to participate more into this issue, especially from those practitioners out there, and working with the schools and others, so that board can accommodate and coordinate. That was the issue. So that's pretty much what I can recall. And for the clinical externship hours, maybe there was a suggestion that we can extend to 50% of on-campus and off-campus rate for a clinical training so that students can have more opportunity to learn from anyone who is reluctant to come into the school clinic rather than to, they can go to their clinic and get the more knowledge and experience from the masters of their choice or professors of their choice. If I miss anything, you can add, and that's pretty much the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Francisco Key. And Member Liao, do you have any?
It's Gregory Leon, generous. I don't have anything more to add.
Okay, so other board member, you're here, but Sunil's not here. So board member, right? I'm a board member. So yesterday, the licensing committee had a very good discussion, received a lot of comments from on-site audience and online audience. So we hear a lot. The board hear that, right? But about doctor degree title unification, we heard school reported actually ACOM is coming to the unification. We heard come from 28 different title to 3 or to 2. So even the 2, I heard the reason why 2. So it seems what we heard now pretty much going to the unification. So that is not the board job, right? The degree naming title. So that we can adopt, but PD program, that's for PD program, not for master's degree. Master's degree, we have AOAC. So for professional doctor degree, the degree naming is going to that direction. So, but also we like to see the unification for us with the mission of main mission is protect the consumer. We don't want consumer confused with these professions 28 degree names. So for me personally, I like the unification, welcome the unification. So that's one. And the second point about the doctoral degree education as entry level for the licensing. This is a legislation problem. So board cannot just make the change. But I did hear professionals say, like following ACOM requirement for a professional doctor degree is 2950 hour minimum training hour, and school in California, our master's degree education already exceeded that number, so minimum 3,000. So master's degree, professional doctor degree, the education hour seems also come together more consistent. But I know a lot of school, they even have master's degree with 3495 hours of training. That's very rigorous. And also the student went to hospital, get a training, and went to China or maybe Korean. I know China, several Chinese TCM University accept several schools in Southern California and Northern California. So we see that trend of this profession and how to get to doctor degree, professional doctor degree as entry level. Again, this is a profession, has to come together. I will encourage all schools, talk to each other. Your school, what's the difficulty, what's the barrier, what's the challenge, and what will be good for the school further development. And like yesterday, we heard from the public, from patients, the view of say the perception from the consumer, from the acupuncture patient will be much better. Must be doctor degree to give them the confidence. So we just heard that, but the school association need to do the job and get a legislation, and the board will see if this is not if professional doctor degree as entry level will not kill the business. If kill the schools, school will not do it for sure. So if good for school, we think we have no reason to think professional doctor degree will do harm more to the consumer compared with the master's degree. So the board can take a position at that time. So I hope you talk to each other and united, have a united opinion, the conclusion to come back to the board and to the legislature. So that's my comments. Thank you.
I would like to add to that. The confidence in somebody going to see an acupuncture will raise a lot, I think, by changing the degree to a doctor degree, right? Is that one of the objectives?
So you mean if acupuncturist has a doctor degree, probably will gain more confidence from the patient.
Yeah.
Common sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? That's what I wanted to add.
I think as a public member should only, I think they have enough solid training, and on the title will be bring the confidence to our general public. It will bring the trust and also have the quality support. I think it's good. Yeah.
So thank you, Member Ms. Osorio, Member Sudong. Thank you for the report. So I have one more point. I heard our Vice President Kim, our Chair Kim, they say the importance is about the not just the hour, but the contents. What to teach is you're increasing 1,000 hours, 2,000 hours. But if you repeat it to teach the same thing, same old, same, and not really help the student be more prepared to the practice, then it's meaningless. And the name also meaningless. If you get a doctor degree, professional doctor degree, but you're not gain more knowledge, more skill, especially the clinical skill. When you're in the real world, see patients, do you have confidence? Can you really help the patient to heal? That's most important. So I do agree. The contents, what to teach, if from a master degree to doctoral degree, what to teach, the school think about it. And also earlier mentioned, we saw it's not good news for so many schools closed. So I think the lucky school still here survived. Really, you can get together or do some investigation from the student, what they need to learn from the school. So all different ways, when everything, all energy, positive energy moving around, will be, we have a better outcome. It's not a acupuncture board can make a decision to weigh more monetary, right? Oversee the policy and the profession. It's most important. The school have good student come in 3 years or bachelor degree. You can figure out what's doable, what's viable, and when the student graduate from professional doctor degree, what's their confidence. Can they independent? So I saw the minimum competency for the license is like the student graduate from school to the profession. They suppose able to practice safely and practice independently. So like I heard yesterday the news from San Francisco County and the city, the public department, Department of Public Health, they're hiring acupuncturists. And that's huge news because this acupuncture will be officially the public service and is what's called is not a private sector, but it's the government employee. So we can see the society is realize how acupuncture can help the government save money, help patients. Otherwise, they will not hire acupuncturists. So maybe Los Angeles County will hire acupuncture. So Los Angeles County has 8 million populations. If they start to hire acupuncturists, the number will be huge. So we see this trend, and as board, we are happy to see that trend. Okay. That's my comment. Any more comments? Okay, so we open comments to the public in the room, please.
Comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
Madam Chair, you mentioned, Neil Miller from CalAtma, you mentioned that many of the issues that were discussed require legislation. And I mentioned it yesterday, and I'll mention it again today, that as you should collect some of these ideas and pass them to the Joint Legislative Review Committee about some of the things that need to be done. We're going to have to put together some sort of Acupuncture Modernization Act. The chiropractors have already been developing it. They've already sent the material to the B&P committee. So they've been working on it for a couple of years, and that's what the title is. And they've been working with the Joint Legislative Review Committee on things that they want to do to modernize that. But they've been working with their board and the profession. So I think that, the profession can do certain things, but it sways the legislature a whole lot when the board communicates to the legislature, and there's a vehicle for that with the Joint Legislative Review Committee. So I'm hoping that, we've pointed out several things that need to be done, going back to the Little Hoover Commission that just hasn't been done. And I'm hoping that you start to compile the data and put it into the next report for the Joint Legislative Review Committee. We could do a better job informing and protecting the consumer by doing that, working together.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
You're welcome.
More comments? More comments? See none? Let's open comments from the website, WebEx.
All right, WebEx is accepting comments for agenda item 10. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3. And our first request is coming from Ann York at Gmail. Hold on just a moment, please. We're sending you a request to unmute your microphone. All right, Ann York, we're going to try sending you another request to unmute your microphone. If you're on a mobile device, you may need to hit the ellipses button, the ... in order to find your unmute. All right. We're going to see if we can move forward with the other request and come back to N York. Kusev, the other Gmail account, CUSVACA.
Yeah, this is Philip Yang from CUSV and AACMA. First, I really appreciate the discussion about the standard doctoral program as entry level. And thank for all the board members, Dr. Kim, Dr. Yunping Chen, Dr. Searle, Dr. Shudong, everyone. And we do discuss with our ACOM approved schools, brother schools, about the entry level. We all support this education to this doctor's degree, and we don't know about the other non-profit schools. So, but this is good for our school education, good for profession, good for the students as well, for their more knowledge, more skills, more trainings. And also we support the AI technology implement in our education and also clinical applications as well. Not only just for the convenience, that really raise our proficiency in the clinical management, education, and everything. And also, this is a time when we cannot be
有时候
left
用手
behind.
点脑点不到，要用那个 click。
Sorry.
My apologies. Go ahead, please.
Okay. And also, we have we do have some investigation with some of the students. They are happy to get that level. Like our school, we just get approved a few months ago for doctoral program. So our students are very actively to join this program because just like Dr. Yunping said, our profession will turn from private service to the public service, and that this all means being more accepted by the government agencies and also the public. So this is overall very good for our profession.
30
Thank
seconds.
You. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. All right. We're going to go back to Ann York and see if we can successfully unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, I think yesterday we have discussed about the education and review the past 10 years. Those schools who against the doctor degree are closing one after another. It is time to have the doctor degree at the entry level for the acupuncture profession. And Doctor of Acupuncture and Herbal Medicine is supported by the CAA and for the school to consider. And this is a coordination job. Need to sit down between the profession and the educator. Okay, we don't like to see a different title and different program for the doctor degree. And the program should cover the neuromechanism. What the acupuncture research has found, it's a mature research, how that work from one area to another area in the brain. What is released in the bloodstream are all mature study that acupuncturists should incorporate in their practice and the knowledge. The school should also incorporate in the doctor's program. And also it's the time for the consumer handbook to make a link to educate the public The research already proved the neural mechanism, how acupuncture works, and each research will show how that works for pain relief, how that works to reduce high blood pressure. These are all evidence-based, and we don't need to argue and just adopt it among the profession and the educational institution and with the board observation. Thank you.
Thank you. And those are all of our online requests for public comment.
Thank you for all the comments from our audience and the board members. So we don't need the phone. Next item is the report and the possible action on November 5th, 2025, Enforcement Committee meeting. Mr. Osorio, the chair, please.
Okay, enforcement performance measures from quarter 4th, April 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2025.
So this is just for yesterday's enforcement committee meeting,
Oh.
where we discussed the consumer guide.
Okay. Licensing report. I don't have it here. No. Update. I'm sorry, Ben. Do you have it? I don't can see to find it.
Hello, I can provide the summary. So yesterday, the enforcement committee met and reviewed both the minutes from the March meeting, as well as which were approved, as well as discussing the newest draft of the Consumer's Guide to Acupuncture. There were a number of changes made. It is still a working draft. Again, it is a text only review right now. We're not looking to make the material itself, including all the images and whatnot. We want to get the content down. And so additional items included were really framing it more from the consumer's perspective, especially like how to verify a licensee's license, what to expect when you step into a clinic, including a wall license, how to check the status of that wall license, in addition to the practitioner's license, and then what postings the acupuncturist is required to have in their clinic. We attempted to include some of the recommendations provided by the public at the March meeting, wherein some conditions treated, but it's very challenging for the board to put these out there, as it can be possibly seen as a recommendation on behalf of the board, which the board is in no position to do. These recommendations exist between the client or patient and the practitioner directly. So the challenges that we're having here was addressed by creating an opportunity for the professional associations and for licensees. Is technically open to everyone, but I will be reaching out to the associations, and they do not have to wait for me to reach out to them. But we've settled on, the committee was in agreement that we'll have a request from the professional associations or professional members on a definition of acupuncture. If you take a look at the materials, I've been told that some people are having difficulties accessing the material for the Consumer's Guide, and if you had looked at the board meeting materials page, you're going to have to refresh it. Sometimes you're going to have to do a hard refresh. Otherwise, if your browser has already cached an older page or saved an older page so it can load faster the next time, it won't show you the updated page. The updated page does include that document. And the section we're discussing in terms of receiving input from the profession is that first page itself, discussing what is acupuncture, and what can it treat even, and from the perspective of the practitioner. And explaining a bit of the theory if necessary, yes. A number of comments were received where perhaps the profession wants to move away from discussion of qi. That is up to the profession. We will provide them ample opportunity to give us a modernized introduction to the practice itself. And I think that's where we left it at. So that will be January 31st that we'll be looking to do, receive final inputs on, and then we'll work with staff on seeing and legal counsel to see what we can incorporate. There was another section we included on a patient, what a patient has access to and what the patient can expect during a visit in terms of, access to your records, request for second opinion, the necessity of informed consent, those kinds of things as well. So that's where we left it at. Hopefully we'll take it up again then in the spring.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. So what's the deadline date? Can you repeat it?
Yeah, the committee is set January 31st of 2026. So we've got the holidays, understandably, so we've afforded another month after that. And that is kind of timing with the release of the occupational analysis as well.
Okay, so there's plenty of time, almost 3 months. Any comments from board members? Okay. We open the comments from the public here. The audience. So for somebody just come in, we want to repeat it. This is item 11. After reported the enforcement committee meeting yesterday, we open comments about this item. Any comments from the audience in the room? Okay, none. Any comments from the WebEx?
All right, WebEx is accepting public comment on agenda item 11. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment now to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, you wish to continue with the agenda?
Thank you, David. Let's go to item 12, public comments for items not on the agenda.
I just want to know if you guys are planning next year's schedule today. I didn't see that on the agenda.
No additional comments from the audience?
Hello. Excuse me. Hello, everybody. My name is Juyong Andrew Pak. I'm the president of Dongguk University, Los Angeles. First of all, I do appreciate everybody being here, participating in this board meeting, and it is quite honor to have all of you here being part of this great movement. And for the past couple of days, I've been hearing very great ideas, suggestions, and the movement that we should be going forward with acupuncture and herbal medicine in the United States. As part of this movement, Donggu University as an institution will do our best to accommodate the standard and the competency and the improvement of our education. And I wouldn't say, what's been already talked about yesterday and today. However, I do like to reiterate one more item on the agenda because as an outsider, maybe I should give you a disclosure before I start this comment because I'm not an acupuncturist or an educator. I'm a CPA background. I'm here more like a salesperson than anything else to run our school and the acupuncture herbal medicine, just like any commercial business to succeed in the environment that we're in. So we talked about competency, and another one was public perception. And in that aspect, it is very sorry to say the master's and doctoral program of acupuncture and herbal medicine is set on associate degree or 2 years of undergraduate study, which could be wrongfully perceived by public that this master's and doctoral degree set on a unexisting bachelor's degree. So I think it's quite important that we have to build one way or the other to complete our educational program on the top of bachelor's degree first before we move on to the next step. And I think this, I have communicated with the ACOM. They do recognize the need of it. At this time, my understanding is ACOM is the only accreditation authority to be able to
30 seconds.
Bachelor's degree. So we will continue to work with other institutions like LATTC, City Community College Board to establish if there's a possibility of building a 4-year bachelor's degree before we move on to master's and doctoral degree. So once again, I welcome you, everybody. I'm here to work with everybody, and we'll do best to accomplish what we're here for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Peck. Thank you again for providing this beautiful meeting room for the board. More comments from the room? See none? Okay, let's move the online comments, please.
All right, WebEx is taking public comments for items not on the agenda. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. All right, we're going to call on CUSVCA. Hold on just a moment, please. We're sending you a request to unmute your microphone.
Yes, this is Philip from CUSV and ACMA. For the right now in the U.S., we know there are many acupuncture schools are closing, including California. Also, we are facing some kind of risks of closing schools. I think one is because of the limited market, and also in certain degree or profession is being restricted, including insurance issues and something else. And also we have more and more schools coming up being approved. Then especially there's a difference of the new CEB approved schools have less restrictions than ACOM approved schools. So this generates kind of unfair competition in certain years, at least 5 years. And then that will, in the limited market of the student resources, so the market is kind of very sensitive to the schools, and maybe more students they go to the new approved schools. Then the older schools are closing more and more. So this might be a topic that to discuss in the future about how to ensure the qualified approved schools or any their limitation of the or like market research, what's the demanding of the school, how many schools we can of the capacity in the area or in California, so that we can have some arrangement like a regional arrangement or something to minimize the unfair competition or to make the education programs more healthy to survive in California. Thank you.
Thank you. And those were all of our requests for public comment.
Thank you, David. So let's go to the future agenda items. So that's the last item, number 13.
This is Gregory Leon, public members. Acupuncture is moving along in the United States, especially California health systems. And I noticed lady is trying to combine with the Western medications and medicines and the healthcare systems to generate benefits for the patients. And I'm wondering, do we have any kind of leads or data on the Western and Eastern medications combining to bring benefits to the patients? And I noticed one person that was a former member, Dr. Amy Matachi. She's trying to combine Eastern and Western medicines. So I'm just wondering, should we look into it?
Thank you, Member Liang. So as you may know, may not know, Member Liang, he actually has a Western medicine background in working in the hospital for how many years?
But I've been
you're
with
in
the public health for 20-something years.
All right. So you have experience as a practitioner, the RN, and also as experience as administrator in the management. So double. Thank you for your experience bring to the board, help the board business. So we saw, yes, like Dr. Amy Mataki, she had the integrative medicine residency for schools in Berkeley and in Fremont before. So in several different hospitals. And that's probably is the only program nationwide in America. But how to get more students get in? The accessibility is a big problem. As I know, in Southern California, some hospitals try to accept the acupuncture residents, but they can treat the doctors, nurses in the hospital, but they cannot treat a patient in the hospital because of liability. So City of Hope, I know one entrepreneur, he donated $900 million to the City of Hope to establish an integrative. Okay, okay. So all this happening, yes. So my point is one, need access. So board, again, not involved with that. But number two, the education. Are you qualified for that? So that will related with our curriculum approval, right? Monitoring, like San Francisco Department of Public Health hiring employees, acupuncturists, but how many qualify to go the hospital? I look at the requirement is pretty strict, very high. You have to be the primary care level, primary care MD level, close to that level. You have to write all the records and the whole system, the history taking. So just say, look back of your school or the profession. Are you ready for the mainstream to accept you? So it's 2 points. One is opportunity. One is your readiness. So that's my point. Thank you.
Any other future agenda items from the board members? And
Yeah, this is Member Kim, and I would like to propose a agenda that might have impact on the education, the curriculum standard, but I would recommend other stakeholders have a meeting before the next board meeting so that they can come up. I'll be participating if there's one, then we can sum up some of the issues and then discuss on that issue and then bring those some of the consensus to this agenda. I think that'll be more productive rather than just ideas of few but agenda and discussion like this. So I would propose a agenda regarding this curriculum update or review next board meeting, but with some of the after the stakeholder meetings between those professional.
it sounded like we just received a request from Vice President Kim that the stakeholders have a future agenda item amongst themselves. I will leave it at that, but the board can come back and listen to the results of that discussion. Any other members have future agenda items that they would like to provide for consideration? No?
So this is Member Chen. Yesterday we discussed the consumer guide to acupuncture and the herbal medicine. And then we also give the stakeholder opportunity to feedback before January 31st. So if the meeting after next meeting after January 1st, 2026, then I would suggest that we put this item for discussion again.
Opening it up to members of the room. If you have any future agenda items, and kindly just leave it as the items. We're not going to start any discussions at this point. Thank you.
Hi, Gina Huang, Five Branches University. And thank you for bringing up the curriculum review and also from what Dr. Philip Yang mentioned. And I would like to suggest that it's that maybe a time for the board also to review the process the approval process of the curriculum, not just the curriculum content itself. And since the board no longer has a site visit authorization for our curriculum schools, so I would like to see if there is a possibility to put that on the agenda. Thank you.
Is there, the only one that I know that has every acupuncturist address is the Acupuncture Board or Acupuncture Today. So is there a way that the board could put something out regarding the January 30th or 31st deadline and some background on what that's about so that we can get more participation? Thank you.
Point of information, all licensees' public addresses are available through the DCA for free.
Any more comments from the audience in the room? Okay, let's open the comments from the WebEx.
WebEx is accepting public comment on future agenda items. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a moment now to see if we have a request for public comment. And Gigi, hold on just a second. We're going to send you a request to unmute your microphone.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Ganesh. I'm not an acupuncturist, but I'm one of the patients who use acupuncture a lot to my treatment of spinal cord injury. And I just want to let you all know that talking regarding integration, please look into Singapore. Singapore just started an initiative just a couple of months ago where they're going to integrate traditional Chinese medicine with Western medicine. They already have a sandbox environment with almost a good 18 proposals of evidence-based traditional Chinese medicine treatments that will be evaluated by using Western medicine protocols to be integrated. And as you know, next to China, Korea, and Japan, Singapore has the largest number of acupuncture practice that also includes Western doctors who practice acupuncture there. So please look into it, and it's an initiative between the universities of Singapore. I think it's the National Singapore University with the Traditional Chinese Medicine Board of Singapore, an initiative with the Health Ministry. So it's like it's a combination of many stakeholders. So I would request the US stakeholders in acupuncture to unite and focus on integrating and do what you can. And please look into Singapore because they just started on it. And I'll post the link in the chat if anybody wants to look at the video and the writings on it. And they also have excellent journals on it. Thank you.
Thank you. I might suggest emailing the board. Chat is disabled for this meeting. That was our only online request for public comment.
Thank you, David. Wow, so it seems we come to the last item, adjournment.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned at 1:22.